Okay. Shalom, everybody. The last class, which is sad and happy. I mean, it's sad because it's nice to see you every week. It's happy because we have a break a little bit, and I have in 2.5 months 30 bar mitzvah ceremonies and 5 weddings. And we have a wonderful Shabbat now with 7 ladies having bat mitzvah. So I can use the break from the classes to charge energies a little bit. Okay, I will start with my Professor Lachter asked us to say which one is the one that we prefer, and so I'm going to also read it and also chant it in Hebrew. I cannot chant it in English. That's my favorite one. Hillel Azaken, Hillel the eldest, היה אומר, אין בו ירא חטא ולא עם הארץ חסיד ולא הביישן מלמד ולא הביישן למד ולא הקפדן מלמד. I'm going to translate. Hillel used to teach, if you're an ignorant, you cannot a person that is afraid of commit sin. And if you are an ignorant, you cannot be a pious man. And if you are too shy to ask questions, it will be hard for you to study. And if you get strict and angry very easily, you cannot teach. I think this is is one of the most important. I mean, the most important for me nowadays is so much disinformation. There's so many ignorant people that believe in all kinds of things, and from there to anti-Semitism, drugs, violence, the distance is very short. I think the solution for hatred, anti-Semitism, drugs, violence is education. Education is probably the only solution. No police, not military force, just to educate people. It's very hard to educate people in these days that you open the internet and it's so much disinformation and fake news. And now with this artificial intelligence, you can fake whatever you want in a very credible way. So I'm going to sing the words from Hillel. He said them around 2,000 years ago. He's more or less the year 0. I'm going to sing it. הלל הזקן היה אומר, אין גור ירחם. הלל הזקן היה אומר, אין גור ירחם. ולא הקבצן למד, ולא הקפדן מלמד, ולא הביישן מלמד, ולא הקפדן מלמד. הזקן היה אומר, אין גור ילכם. ליל הזקן היה אומר, אין גור ילכם. ולא ביישן למת, ולא הקפדם מלמד, ולא ביישן למת, ולא הקפדם מלמד. הלל הזקן היה אומר, אין גור ילכם. It's better with 25 kids singing in chorus, but I did it solo. I didn't sing the song also in a long time. But there is a nice recording. We did a nice recording of this song with 25 kids, and the music is available. I finished my part. I'm very gladly pass you the microphone for the last time on this year, but I want to say that next year we're going to study the full year Zionism, and we started preparing already, and we have a wonderful I would say syllabus for the next year with the very interesting people talking about Zionism since biblical times to our age. I think you're going to enjoy it. I read the material a little bit. I give a book to Professor Lachter this week, and I think it's going to be very interesting. Even it's going to surprise us. Many things here. Many things are going to be very interesting. I'm passing you the microphone. We sang the prayer together the last time.
Please.
Yes.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
Amen.
Well, you surprised me. That wasn't what I thought you were going to choose from Hillel, because of course there's the song of Im Enani Li Mili.
That's right.
Which is a different song, and there are different versions sometimes in even in Avot that we find someone inserted or deleted a sentence in some of the versions. So that in the version you had Enabol, Ve'ena Baishan, Ve'ena Kabdan, which are the three. But in the version I have the art scroll, they also have Velo Ama Aretz Chasid.
That's right. I say it, but I skip it in the song.
Yes. And yes. That says that someone who is aware of the law and chooses to do more than it requires, more than you're required by law, is a chassid. And I would only reflect that the huge emphasis that Rav Edgar puts on education and learning is probably the foundational concept behind his activities in 5 different schools, which involve about 1,000 kids a year, 1,000 different kids, and many of them, of course, many times for Jewish things. And really, a Jewish education is so foundational to what makes us Jewish is having that education, having that basis of knowledge and experiences, and the Jewish experiences on the holidays, as well as the knowledge and the preparing for the ceremonies, if it's Bal Bat Mitzvah or receiving of the Torah, are the experiences also which go into that foundation that is strong that makes people continue the unbreakable chain of Judaism. Lorena, you're going to be first because you sent something saying you actually had two favorites, and I did kind of say one. If there was one or there would be two, I'm going to say favorite. But what one that you chose that you would like to reflect on with us? You have to unmute yourself first, and then Nathan, you're going to be ready next. I'm asking to unmute, and it's not working too well.
Jesse, I'm not getting any visual on her either.
No,
Now
and
she's
there
gone.
was before,
Now she's
so
gone.
she may have clicked off and clicked back on. So Nathan, why don't you unmute yourself? Terrific. And
Okay.
let's see what you chose, and hopefully Lorena will be able to get back on.
I kind of chose two, and
Good.
I also came across little differences in the translations. I didn't realize the links went to Chabad, so I was looking at the Koran. I had a Koran Siddur, and so it was published in 2009, and Rabbi Sachs was given credit for the translations. But anyway, the first one I liked was chapter 3, and in the version I have, it's number 18, but I think in the Chabad it was number 14. But he used to say, and if you want me to read this whole thing,
Sure.
beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God as a gesture of oh, wait a minute. He was created in the image of God, as it is said, for in the image of God he made man, or humans, I guess you could say, beloved as are Israel, for they are called God's children. As a gesture of special love, it was made known to them that they are called God's children, as it is said, you are the children of the Lord your God. Beloved are Israel, for they were given a precious vessel. As a gesture of special love, it was made known to them that they were given the precious vessel through which the world was created. As it is said, I have given you good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah. And to me, that was maybe an early version of Am Yisrael Chai. That was kind of struck me as we're the children of Israel, and whether you're, I guess, religious or not, or Orthodox or not, or however, whatever it is, whatever you find happy in Judaism, I think this applies. And the other thing I liked was chapter 4, number 6, which is actually number 5 on the link to the Chabad. And it says, this is a lot shorter. Rabbi Ishmael, his son, said, one who learns in order to teach will be given the opportunity to learn and teach. One who learns in order to do will be given the opportunity to learn, teach, keep, and do. And I just thought that was excellent advice. And whether you're a teacher, whether you're talking to children, grandchildren, friends, anything, it just, and to me, it was good advice.
Well, it certainly is good advice that that we learn not just to learn, not just as a exercise in memory, but for to put things into practice and to share that information. And I like your association from beloved is man and beloved is Israel, because there's not a lot of love in Pirkei Avot, more ethical things than words that at least today carry emotion, but very much a part of our Judaism in practice is an emotional level. It's at a emotional level of love of the country, of love of the people, of love of other Jews, and so that's a lot of what makes us what we are is that emotional aspect however God loves, whatever that means to each of us. But those are two really good, also surprising to me choices. But that's great, and that reflects you, and that's great. Lorena, you're back. That's great.
Yeah, I lost the connection, but maybe it's good because I just heard you. It was something with the internet. I chose the first one, and then I chose chapter 6, Mishnah 6, the two. The first one, that no matter how many times I read them or read this one, it's not even, it's in the beginning, it's not even a chapter, I think, but it says, your people, all of them righteous, shall possess the land forever. And the reason why I chose it is because it indeed, you asked, moved me most. This always moves me emotionally. It touches everything. It says, your people, so it talks to a people. So for me, I could talk for hours. So that is what brings us, what unites us. There is something as a people, your people, the connection to the land, all of them righteous. That for me, it always... the inspiration of always following ethics and again and again and again questioning yourself, studying, uh, going the extra mile, being part of studying in community so that you can share, and then shall possess the land forever. Even now, there is such hope, and there is such, what I feel is, I still know people, well, they're dead now, but I knew people who were with Moshe Dayan in the Haganah. That is how far I go back in the Haganah. So that's before 48. And I grew up with these people. And then everything that happened before, and the British and the Haganah, and everything after that. And then, but shall possess the land forever. For me, that's not only hopeful, but it is whatever I experience being there. Even if the plane the plane would enter, now they thank the IDF, but before the plane would land at Ben Gurion, people would start to sing, start to clap, start to sing, kiss the earth, and I still feel that way always. And shall possess the land forever. That brings so much with it, and especially in these times when there seems to be a dichotomy or difficult. I find this very, very, very moving. And then I thought, okay, I have to choose another one also. And many of the other ones, you can think one way, the other way, or one says one thing and the next one says the opposite. And some I find difficult, like it says you should not listen to your wife or not speak much with your wife. I think that one was a little bit difficult. But I love this chapter 6, Mishnah 6, because it's very wide. And I wondered when it was written, because it doesn't say who, it doesn't say Rabbi so-and-so. And it seems to me very modern, like you could use it always. So that one I also really, really liked, because I was thinking, if I only had to have one, I could study this one forever and ever and ever.
And chapter 6,
Mishnah 6, yeah.
Mishnah 6, of course, are the 48 attributes for Kinyan Torah.
Yeah.
And we learn through those together. And that is something you could spend, yes, we do spend a lifetime trying to learn, and learn in order to teach, and learn in order to do.
Yeah.
So that's great. And because you mentioned the clapping when we land in Israel, so I'm going to tell a hopefully brief joke, and hopefully you haven't heard it too many times, about one of the El Al planes landing on December 25th. And the pilot gets on and says, for all of you who are uh, 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 coming back home, for all of you who are standing and clapping, so welcome home. And for all of you who are still in your seats, so Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Because that's what Israelis do. They clap, they get right up. That is what happens here. And the connection to the land is very central, as you say, to being a people. And that has a lot to do with the Zionism that we're going to be studying as we continue learning about what makes us who we are in the coming year. Gershon, I see you managed to get on, so why don't you unmute yourself, and then Anita will be next.
If you don't mind me to go first, I'm just settling in a little bit here.
Okay, Anita, if you can. You're still muted, Anita, so I can't hear you.
Okay. I wanted to add to your joke, and then
Yes.
I'll tell my comments. Okay.
Good.
I was on a flight returning from Israel, and I was on my connecting flight. And I sat next to a pilot, it turns out, a Delta pilot. So it says, where are you coming from? And I said, well, I just came into New York and I came from Israel. He said, oh, that's great. I know all those pilots. And I said, oh, that's great. He says, we race. I said, I beg your pardon? He says, yes, we race. When we leave Ben Gurion around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, we see who can reach U.S. airspace first, the El Al flight or the Delta flight. He said, we've done it for years. I said, I don't know if I find it comforting. He said, and yes, when it's Christmas, we always talk about Santa Claus because we always all see Santa Claus. So you see, your comments are not so off. Okay, I approach this in a somewhat different way. I approached it by what is one of my conundrums now, and that is related to negotiations and deals and how they're made and what they mean. And so I looked for references to peace within all of this. I found several comments, obviously related to peace. The first one being the three things the world sustained is by law, truth, and peace. These are all from chapter 1. And there's also, I found a quote from Zechariah that says, truth and judgment of peace you should administer at your city gates. I found that very moving because it means when you enter our community, we offer you peace. Okay. At least that's my perception. In addition, I'm confused by this whole thing of law, truth, and peace, because when I read through several commentaries about it, there seems to be, it doesn't seem to be clear which comes first or which influences. Is it law, is it truth, or is it peace? I could find various perspectives, okay? I bring this up because when we hear so much about people meeting to decide things and make plans, they say their goal is peace. I can only hope they're speaking truth with facts, though I don't always believe that, okay? Definitely not. But I don't think we can reach a situation of a agreement of peace for any kind of altercation, okay? But obviously right now we have our own here. Without some element of knowing the facts and how we relate to one another and whether or not we accept one another. I consider those parts of truth. Law is obviously very much associated with the three of them. But I found the material confusing. The three are lumped together, but I couldn't be honest and say which one was more important than the other. I like to think it's peace, But in some areas, truth, you won't have peace. So I didn't, this is the way I approached it, okay? Not a very spiritual way. But I was looking for an answer for a practical concern I have today.
Yes, well, we have a very practical concern in trying to reach peace, and day by day we hear the planes overhead, and those who are in the south also hear the bombs going off. So we're pretty far from peace at the moment, although miraculously, after tens of thousands of bombs from north and from south, they have been the vast majority of them have been neutralized, so that people within the country are somewhat safe, but that's not like being at peace. And there's an internal peace, of course. There's an internal peace or a serenity that that humans naturally seek and try to get to. And that, of course, involves truth, right? That we know a truth inside, even if we don't see it on the outside or express it on the outside. So we know sometimes when something is true or not. And I really appreciate your bringing up the idea that accepting each other is critical for peace. And while Israel is fighting its war on 7 or 8 fronts, one of the most important fronts, I think, that's been brought up a lot of times by people is the internal conflicts, the non-acceptance of each other. This one is not Jewish enough, and that one is not smart enough, and this one is not rightward enough, or liberal enough, or strong enough, or determined enough. And in order to reach peace, I think probably all of us will agree with you that acceptance of each other, and of course, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself, is really strong to get as far as actually having that level of acceptance that we love the other person just for being a human being, just for being a fellow that we come across. And so that's really good that you brought that up. You wanted to ask
One last comment, because it relates to what you just said. A few days ago, I was in our local McCullough, and I know everybody who works there. Most of them are pretty grumbly and overworked and a confusing area. I was checking out. There were some problems with the person in front of me, and I didn't look at the woman who was checking me out. And when I got up to her, I realized I'd never seen her before. She's Arab Israeli. I knew that. She was very helpful, smiling and everything. And as I got my things into my cart, she looked at me and she says, "What is your name?" And I looked at her and I said, and I told her my name, and I said, "And yours?" And she said, "That's my name." And I said, "Hello." And so when I saw her the other day, I left there feeling peace. Okay. As minor as that was, there was a recognition, and I admired her for being upfront, for saying hello in a very personal way. And so those things happen, but we need more of that. But I am still in a conundrum, and I will continue to be a conundrum. Luckily, I'm not a member of any kind of group that's making a peace plan, but how do you merge these three together if you're sitting in a room trying to do this? I don't know. But that's what I don't expect an answer, believe me.
Well, I think you gave us half an answer, and the starting point, and the starting point is to reach out, and as it says in Pirkei Avot, one of the famous rabbis, never was there someone who said shalom to him first. He always reached out, and the starting point for that piece that you're talking about is just to say to people, what's your name? Hi.
Yeah.
And that person expanded peace and gave you an idea that yes, there are people more and more, hopefully, who are accepting each other and reaching out. And if it's somebody new, next time you're going to hear a little more about her. And if you have a big shopping, you may hear all about her family by the time she checks out all the
I
things.
saw her the other night and we waved at each other and said hello and then that. So, it
That's
worked.
peace.
It works. That's right. That's
That's
right.
where it
That's right.
starts. That's
That's
beautiful.
right. That's right. Thank you.
Is Fred there today? He's not
No,
available.
he's not. No, he's not
Okay.
able to come today.
That's fine. Gershon?
So tying in on Anita's comment there and story about saying hello, I'll just say that it's one thing I wish the people in the medical services here would do is address people in an appropriate way by name and by in return introducing themselves by both name and function. Always amazed me that I was the only one in my department who did that, even though a certain notable physician had spent some of his education time in the U.S. And when he heard me do it, he was always like, "Yeah, we should do that." Anyway, that's one place I found that particularly lacking. So first of all, I just want to compliment all the people who have gone before me who were much better than I about doing their homework. And my week did not provide me with a lot of time when I was both awake and sitting in one place and clear-headed enough. So I never got beyond reading the summaries that you had sent us, but luckily one of them is one that really hits me, and I don't know if I can fully explain why, but it's from chapter 4, and it says, Ben Zoma would say, "Who is wise? One who learns from every man. Who is strong? One who overpowers his inclinations. Who is rich? One who is satisfied with his lot. And who is honorable? One who honors his fellows." And they all hit me because if you can strive for each one of these, it's basically a lifetime of work right there, I would say. Uh, one that hits me a lot of times when I see how people act in society is the who is rich, one who is satisfied with his lot. It's always so amazing how people don't appreciate what they have in their lives. There's certainly always things to complain about, but the idea that you particularly if you're not in debt, um, this all comes together for me as that's great, that's rich. I mean, you can have millions more, but I don't know that it will get you that far in terms of feeling good about what you have. It's really more important to appreciate both the things and the people that you have in your life. So that one hits me very strongly. But the other items in there also are just so clearly beneficial. If you can control yourself, you're strong, and if you accept the fact that everybody has something to teach you and to try and learn from it, that's spectacular. And I think these classes have been a great example of that. We've got a variety of people in the class on any given week, and each one comes from different backgrounds and different ways of thinking. And it's wonderful how much we learn from each other. So I will stop with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll just say from a gastroenterologic point, in terms of being satisfied with what you have, I'll agree with you that those people who are multi-millionaires also don't eat more than 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. It's not like you're going to eat more just because there's more numbers. I think Ted said the numbers after a while, they're just numbers on a computer screen or in a bank book. It used to be on paper. They become less important. But yes, I very much agree that it's wonderful that we learn from each other and each with a lifetime of experience and learning and striving to be, decent, ethical people. And I'll remind you that Flores, who is not here today, she took Shavuot weekend to be with her family and will stay with them through the weekend. Chose the same in terms of learning from everyone as her choice of what she would choose if she had to, and that's awful of me. I'd ask people to choose one. Edgar also, when I came up with the idea of choosing one, so choosing one is fine, but with that excellent rabbinic mind, he said, but by choosing one, you're not choosing the other 107, because there are 108 Mishnayot here, according to most people's count. And we know that we count them different ways. So the ones that didn't get counted and didn't get stated today, obviously have been of sufficient value that the Jewish people have been passing them on for 2,000 years. And as a tradition, read them every year, but the usual tradition of reading them in synagogues all over the world is to read an entire chapter, just zip through one Mishnah after the other for one chapter each week, ending with Shavuot, which is of course Sunday night. So we're ending right on time for the traditional way to do it. And but of course we've taken the deep dive of spending a lot of time. I took a look when we started this round of Pirkei Avot, and it was in 2023. So it's been just 2 years of it was around September 2023. So I keep notes, you know that, right? You all know that I've been keeping notes, and that's how I managed to quote you back to yourself sometimes. So that was a really good choice. Liz, let's hear your choice.
Okay.
There you are.
Yeah. First of all, it's been a rough week for me, so that's not an excuse. But in reviewing the list you sent, I feel sort of like the rabbi in that you're asking me to pick which one of my children do I like the best. And having been through Pirkei Avot before, I don't retain so much each time. And every time it's like almost hearing it for the first time. But I can't pick a favorite because every week I've had a new thought, put to me from the lesson, something that I didn't think about before. And with the sharing, it's been very important in terms of my learning, um, because I go through so much stuff, like I'm doing the Daf Yomi. There's a lot of stuff coming in, and it doesn't all always stay. And so the doing it like this helps hearing it from other people's voices. But I can't pick one. They're all, so meaningful to me. And another comment I want to make about uh, saying hello to people. It's a little story. About 20 years ago, I spent 5 days at Duke University Hospital in their intensive chemo unit. And every day, this doctor would come in with his residents and say, this woman, she's 45 years old or whatever, how old I was, and she's blah, 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 blah. And then he would take his little entourage and walk out. And on the last day, he made what I consider made a fatal mistake. He looked back. And I immediately looked at him and said, stop, come back here. I said, you've been coming in and out of here for 5 days, and not once did you call me by my name or introduce me by my name. And that is something, you should have done, because it really makes a difference. And, you know, maybe he was embarrassed in front of the students. I don't know. I know my husband was embarrassed that I pointed that out to the doctor. Um, but it's really important. And I felt it was something that he needed to know. And as we've seen through this, addressing people and asking them, what is your name? Who are you? And finding some connection is the best way for, building bridges overall. And I appreciate everything that you have done in terms of our learning, and pushing us and, cajoling it sometimes to think about things that might be uncomfortable or awkward for us, to put us this in our faces. And so I am very appreciative of all the work you have done.
Well, thank you. And that goes both ways, not just for the recordings and the YouTubes and the getting these out and encouraging us to hear that there's another sometimes dozen people who check in on these without being present. And some are in California. It's just different hours and different situations. But I will have to compliment you back about speaking truth to power. And that doesn't come out a lot here. Pirkei Avot actually does a lot of the power of God and the power of the rabbinate and the importance of listening to the rabbis. Choose a rabbi comes up twice, and a lot in Talmud and else serve to cement and elevate the power of the rabbinate, but sometimes everybody makes mistakes, and that doctor that would never say, "I want you students to meet Liz. She's 45 and she's married and has 2 kids," rather than saying a 45-year-old woman. In case reports, when writing, so obviously there's an anonymity and you would not cite a person's name. But there are those in rounds, even what we would call chart rounds at the end of the day, where the doctors are sitting in a room together. And one person will say, room 8, bed 3, there's Liz and she's 45. And other people would say, room 8, bed 6, there's a 45-year-old woman. And obviously, maintaining the humanity by the individual name of people is very important to, I'm going to guess, almost everybody. And so it really is important to call people by their name. And I actually also believe that it's very important to have physical contact and to shake hands with every patient. And I know that that's not standard procedure in Israel. A lot of people do not, and especially if they're rounding, they may, because obviously after you shake hands with somebody, you're going to put a little alcohol on your hands, but that takes about 20 seconds. So shaking hands, calling a person by their name is very important, because we really are all individuals, and that's very important. And when you accept another person, you accept them as an individual and not just as a part of a part of a giant group. Okay, so this time I left myself to be last in terms of what I would choose, and part of why what I chose it goes to English. English 101, which says that the first sentence is kind of an introductory sentence, or sometimes called a topic sentence. And I'm going to share it if I can get it up. Can you see it?
No.
Not yet. Now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So I'm going to say that in many ways, I'll summarize it after, but in many ways, this topic sentence is going to tell me everything that's going to be in Pirkei Avot. משה קיבל תורה מסיני ומסרה ליהושע, יהושע לזקנים, זקנים לנביאים, נביאים מסרו לאנשי כנסת הגדולה, הם אמרו 3 דברים, הביאים מתונים בדין, העמידו תלמידים הרבה, ועשו סייג לתורה. Right? That Moses gets the Torah from Sinai, gives it to Joshua, who gives it to the elders to the prophets. The prophets gave it over to the men of the Great Assembly. That's Sanhedrin, right? And then they of the Great Assembly would always say these 3 things. Be cautious in judgment, establish many pupils, and make a safety fence around the Torah. And I sum this up as these 3 things that they said, and it kind of rhymes, is to be fair in terms of judgment, to be fair, to share, which means when you learn, as we learn, I only lead this. I can't say even that I teach this exactly, but I lead these sessions together with Edgar. He's an official teacher, and as a professor, I teach other stuff. But to share the information with other people. And then the last thing is to be careful, to care. And that's the idea of if there's, you got to be cautious. And to be careful is when there are all sorts of laws of don'ts, and there's, I don't remember, it might be 350 don'ts in the Torah, many of them irrelevant because of but there's about 250 do's and about 350 don'ts, more don'ts than do's, and just to be careful about how we do those. So basically, for a peaceful society and for a caring society, what Judaism passes on, and that's what this first whole piece is, the idea that comes from Sinai, came from God, that the foundational issue that we pass on from generation to generation, from person to person, is to be fair and to share with others and to be careful. And that's how I would end this. And I hope everyone has a good Shabbat and a good summer and peace, as we're all hoping for. And I hope that the subject next year, we've been studying together for a number of years. I don't have a strict count on it, but it's been a number of years. And next year, what Edgar and I have chosen to lead discussion on will be on Zionism, and it will be Zionism beginning with a discussion of Zion in the Torah, and then in the Talmud, and then in following years, and obviously with an emphasis on how Zionism has been developing over the last years, many, many years, but especially the last couple hundred years, and how it is for us today, which is already different from 45 years ago when I came to this country, and where it's going and where we want it to go. Because I think Zionism is up to us to pass on as a tradition, just as it was as a tradition, as our ethical tradition is. And Lorena emphasized also how important the concept of land is in our overall Jewishness. So thank you all for studying. And
thank you very much.
When is the next class?
Probably Rosh Hashanah, a little before, a little after.
Oh, big break.
Yes, we're going to take a summer break now. Edgar is going to be doing something else. As he said, he's going to be doing some 30 bar mitzvahs that he packed in this summer. And I'll be traveling to the United States myself for a good part of this June and then again September. So we'll probably start right around the beginning of October. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't all be studying a little something every day, which would be nice. A little something Jewish every day. And interesting that it turns out that the part of the Talmud, this today is a celebration because we're finishing a tractate of Talmud. This is at the end of Sidrat Nezikin. This is a tractate of the Talmud. So you can all consider yourselves Talmud students. And those who are studying a page a day for the 7.5-year cycle are now studying 26, the 27th page of a tractate called Shavuot, which is not really related to the Shavua, the oaths that we're studying. That's about oaths and the importance of what we say, as opposed to the Shavua of the week and of the holiday that we have of the giving of the Torah. But we can celebrate that this year, particularly because we've been studying Torah all year, we can really feel that we've received Torah and hopefully share it with others. And it can be with the checkout gal at the counter at the market, or it can be the kids that we meet in school, or it can be the pilot who's sitting next to us, or any of these other people that we encounter. We can be sharing the ethical Torah that we studied this year. So Shabbat Shalom all.
Shabbat
And
Shalom.
thanks
Shabbat
for studying together.
Shalom, Happy Shavuot.